I'm glad you're here to check out Real World Digital SAT Last Minute Preparation, ownthesat.com. I am that person who's got your back when it comes to preparing for the SATs, whether it's last minute or you got a lot of time in the world, you still have to practice every day. But let's see what we do if we waited till the last minute. We only have got like maybe 5 days or 48 hours or 24 hours to take the next SAT. Let's set our expectations with the big picture. The big picture of the exam is just know that the tests are beatable. Every student I've talked with, they've got skills to pay the bills. You guys certainly have the information to beat the test. You just don't know how to use the information upstairs in your head. Also, a lot of the information that you need to know for the test, a lot of it has gotten rusty and dusty over time. So that's where I'm going to bring it back up front so that you guys can practice and then beat down the test. My name is Mr. Alberto. Yeah, I kind of look like this. My son told me I should come up with an avatar because, Dad, you're getting older. So if you put your picture, you're going to look kind of wrecked to teach the test. It's cool. I don't mind, but it's cool. My son suggested this. I put it up there, so that's kind of what I look like. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've been seen in these different periodicals. I've collaborated with different organizations in Broward County. I'm based out of South Florida, so that's why you see a lot of Florida business going on here. And I also focus mainly on students who want to get Bright Future scholarships, which are Florida scholarships for students who want to go to Florida State schools. The big picture about the exam set, it's all about money. Colleges, they make a lot of money because they charge a big time prices to attend their schools. Loans, if you take out loans, the banks make a ton of money. So I'm trying to get you guys to get free money so you guys don't have to pay for your first 4 years of college. And then you can look for that money to pay for graduate school, law school, or medical school. But right now, what do you do to beat the test? Well, you're doing something for free. And that's sitting here watching this video and getting a better picture of what you need to do. Now, what has my work done? It's gotten my students into these schools and plenty of others. I can't fit them all into a box. I'm not going to put them all because this is good enough. If you take a minute, you can pause this and read and say, oh, snap, this guy does have skills. Well, I also got skills because I've got some students who got in 1530. Now, this is from a student that I worked with. He was a sophomore. I didn't believe in sophomores preparing for the test until they waited after sophomore year. The summer after sophomore year, typically I would tell students, but if you are that type of student who's super motivated as a sophomore, you want to get these tests out of the way like this student did, he was done by the spring of sophomore year. Right now, he's in Duke, and I'm very proud of what he's done. I'm also proud of the recent students that I've worked with who've broken. I got one who just got a 1470, and then I got another student who got a 1350 who couldn't even break a 1200 before, but got that 1350. Very proud of him. And what do these guys do before test prep? You're gonna feel like this. This is the last minute test prep person. This is the last minute test prep person. But if you find that after you take the test, whether it's let's say this weekend or the next weekend, you're going to realize after practicing what you need to do for next time. The next time you could feel like this after prep or feel like this dude right here after prep. I think you guys recognize these individuals. I kind of know them, not too sure. All right, up to this point, if you liked what you heard, there's going to be documents I'm going to be showing. If you want copies of the documents, just send me a text message at 786-877-7231 and just type tag me at the words last minute, or just text the words last minute. I'll get the docs out to you. All right. The big picture about the calendar. What kind of time are you looking at? All right. Let's say we just had a few days to get ready. All right. If we're going to take a few days to get ready, we got to wake up and say, what are we going to do? Let's say we had 7 days leading up to the SAT. Or it could even involve the ACT. Either way, you're going to have to do some preparation to get ready for the test. Let's break down the actual test. Here, we have the reading section of the exam, the reading section, and the math section. But let's see what they tell us about the reading section. The reading section, it tells us broken up into two parts. You get 64 total minutes, 32 minutes per section. There are two parts, again, 32 minutes each. Now, out of all the test questions, 54, four of these questions are going to be big time fake questions. They're not scored questions, which is really weird. Very strange that they do that. Why are we going to be used as guinea pigs to take a test? But is there anything we can do about it? No. All the questions are multiple choice. There are also charts and graph questions or passages within the reading section. Then they tell you what topics are covered. Who cares? And then they tell you the percentages of the reading questions versus the grammar questions. Yes, there are more reading questions than there are grammar questions. But is that really true? Anyhow, the reading and the grammar, they go hand in hand for every type of question you're going to be dealing with. Now, the big reading parts, they tell us, this is from College Board, the structure, the idea, the English, and the expressions. All right, goody, goody. Now we know that stuff. Let's get to the real stuff. The four main areas of the reading section of the exam. We're going to be dealing with sentence completions. That is the first area of the test that we're going to attack. The second area of the test that we're going to attack immediately is going to be the grammar questions. The third area, right after grammar, is going to be the bullet questions. And then we have our reading comprehension questions that are given to us. That's our fourth step of destroying the SAT section. Now, it's interesting, right? For the SATs, the order that they give us in the actual test, its sentence completions will come first. Then the second part is going to be the reading comp questions. The third part will be grammar, and the fourth part will be the bullet questions. We're not doing it that way. We're going to change the order. Rather, we're going to do the first section will certainly be our sentence completions. Our second section is going to be grammar, not the third section. Our third section, instead of fourth, is going to be the bullet questions. And then our last one is going to be reading comp. And why do we do this? Because the reading comp questions steal a lot of energy and time. So I'd rather you leave those type of questions for last. All right. Next thing we got going on, we got our last minute sentence completions preparation. Now, what I'm going to show you is just basic let's see, strategies for the sentence completions. I'm going to show you one sentence completion question and tell you exactly what I do during a test. And then we'll move on to the next area. Here we go. The, the very first question that you're going to receive in the SAT is going to be sentence completions. Now, how do we deal with these? Well, I like what I call cheat. I'm always going to cheat and take a look at the answers. I got ordinary, secretive, important, unpredictable. I'm just getting an idea. They're just throwing anything weird at me. And then immediately, what am I going to do? I'm going to read the sentence carefully, looking for context clues. I know it's going to be the easiest question, so I'll hit it. It's the very first question. As Mexico's first president from an indigenous community, Benito Juarez became one of the most blank figures in his country's history. Now, I do see this right here. This is a colon. Colons, grammar rules, they're going to give you an explanation, a definition, maybe examples of what came before the colon. So Benito was the most blank figures in the country. Tell me some more with that colon. Among his many significant accomplishments. So, can we just reuse the clue? Significant. Let's see if I get. I'll just keep it a sig. Became one of the most significant figures. Then I go to my answer choices. I go from the bottom up, attacking any words that do not match the word significant. Does ordinary go significant? No. Does secretive go significant? No. Does important go significant? Yes. But don't bite on the answer yet. Compare it to A. Does unpredictable go significant? No. So therefore, my best answer is going to be B. And that's really it. That's your steps to attacking sentence completions. Remember, I like to cheat. I'll take a look at the answer choices to see if they give me something nasty. We'll read for context clues. And then when I figure out what should go in that blank, my own word, then I attack my answers from the bottom up. So you're going to hear me talk about this in the next segment, which will focus solely on sentence completions. Right now, we're trying to get the big picture of the entire test so you can frame your mind and know what you need to do with your calendar leading up to the next test, whether it's going to be tomorrow or 3 days from now or 5 or 7 days from now. Let's pretend we're going to be taking a test tomorrow. What do I need to know that I don't know that will certainly help me? So right now, sentence completions, I just showed you. That's how you bang those out. But remember, when you deal with the hardest question in the test, let's say it's the last sentence completion question, we know they're going to throw some weird words at us. For example, what's our first step? Let's take a look at the answers. Unoriginal, I'm familiar with unoriginal. Disorienting, I'm familiar with it, but nuanced and tenuous, most students would be unfamiliar with those. I would bet money the answer is going to be between B and C when it's the very last question of sentence completions. Sometimes they give you 8 of these, sometimes they only give you 5. But if they gave you 7 and 7 was the last one, then I know this is going to be a difficult question to work on. It's meant for those high GPA students or those students who are ranked in the top 10 of your school. So why are we going to sweat on the harder questions? We know we're probably going to get it wrong, but let's see what we can do with some test taking technique. So remember, step 1, we cheat, take a look at the answers. I bet money is going to be between B and C, not those 2 easy words. Now I go into the sentence. The author's claim about the relationship between Neanderthals and Homo sapiens is blank. Where are my context clues? Well, we got a comma right here. That comma is setting up information about what is that blank. It comes right after comma. So anything that comes after comma is directly related to what comes before the comma. As it, what is that it? The claim. As it fails, so it seems like the claim fails. So I'm going to put is a failure. Let's just put off, we'll pretend it's failure in our blank. Is that good? All right, if we attack our answers from the bottom up, seeming that it's going to be failure in a blank, does unoriginal go with failure? No. Does disorienting go with failure? No. Now we're stuck between two answers. We knew it was going to be between the two answers. So at this point, you guess and get out. Just for your information, the best word that means like weak or failure is going to be tenuous. So B would be the answer to this particular question. All right, let's go to next area of the test, and that's going to be grammar. Last minute grammar preparation. There will be a separate video that talks about the grammar, and I'm going to squeeze in as much information as we can, especially if you were taking a test around the corner. All right. Well, with the grammar, let's see what they're actually dealing with. We're actually dealing with fifth grade grammar rules and some reading comprehension. Remember the sentence completions that we had just done? We recognized there were a couple of grammar rules, colons and their commas. So these rules for grammar are going to help you not only with sentence completions, but they'll also help you with the reading comprehension questions, which are dirty and steals a lot of time. But right now, we have an area which is only about English grammar rules. Now, the English grammar rules can never be changed by the SAT or the ACT. So again, fifth grade grammar rules and a little bit of reading comprehension. But what kind of grammar rules are we going to be dealing with? We're dealing with comma rules. The most important rules that you need to learn are going to be your comma rules. Those comma rules are commas that come at the setting off information at the end of the sentence, setting off information in the middle of the sentence. This information is unnecessary information that you'll find in the middle or at the end of a sentence. Whenever you deal with these type of comma rules, you're going to realize that you're going to eliminate a lot of bad answer choices because they know that students have forgotten their basic comma rules. The other comma rule are fanboys. Do you remember fanboys? FANBOY and S. F stands for, A is for and, N is for nor, B is for but, O is for or, Y is for yet, and S is for so. So these have commas that come immediately before them because they're used to separate two complete sentences. Now, the rest of these rules we can take a look at. Yes, there's going to be a separate video module about these grammar rules, and we'll be hitting at least one of each type of these items. Now, this is for my private classes with students that meet me in person. Now, we take time to break down each of those rules, and notice you got 19 days for 19 different rules. Now, it seems like it's a lot, but it's really easy. Once you get the rhythm of this, you can knock a page down every day and be awesome for your next exam. But of course, if we're preparing for the last minute, we're going to have to squeeze this information as well as we can just to get a decent score, but know for sure that we're going to attack the next test with plenty of days leading up to it. All right. Now, for the grammar, I'm going to show you what I do during a test. It's similar to sentence completions. I'm certainly going to cheat. I'm going to take a look at the answer choices. So that's my first step. I'm going to take a look and look for anything that's remotely easy. Like, for example, semicolon rules. The semicolon, 95% of the time, it's going to be separating two complete sentences. You have your parenthesis, you have your comma, of course, the comma rules, and you have your colons, which you talked about in one of the sentence completion questions. Now, these rules, when you're familiar with them, you're going to be able to pick off answers and nail correct answers a lot faster. Now, after I've taken a look at the answer choices, in this case, I am going to select A to test out first because of that semicolon. Semicolon separates two complete sentences. So let's see if it's actually doing it. Now, I'm going to pretend that word the is kicking off the second part right after the semicolon. The canal reduced transport time to 9 days and cut costs to $6 per ton. Yes, I have a complete sentence after the semicolon. Let me check before the semicolon. By linking the Hudson River Lake Erie, is that a complete sentence? No, it's not a complete sentence with that semicolon. So therefore, A cannot work. It's not separating two complete sentences. But what is it doing? It's actually doing answer choice C. See, when I tested for A for the complete sentence afterwards, I heard a complete sentence after the semicolon. The canal reduced transport time to 9 days and cut costs to $6 per ton. When I read before, the kickoff of the sentence, by linking the Hudson River to Lake Erie, I could hear that's an introductory clause, so C must be the best answer. And that's from knowing basic grammar rules. So these grammar rules that you have to know. First of all, you got to get very familiar with your comma rules. I'll make sure that you get this module so that you guys can understand the comma rules. I give this to all of my students, whether in front of me as a free class or a for-pay class. Lists, introductory clauses, the separation of two complete sentences using fanboys, and unnecessary information in the middle of the sentence and at the end of the sentence. A quick review of this, or just to go through this sheet, will set you up for success in future exams. Now, there's a couple items that I want to point out before we move forward. You're going to notice you already know a lot of these rules. Like, for example, if I were to take this sentence, I have skills, period. I pay the bills, period. What does a period do? A period will separate two complete sentences. But notice the next sentence right after the one that I underlined and read. If I have skills, which is the complete sentence, but then I have this yellow light, the semicolon, I know it's going to separate another complete sentence. I pay the bills. Subject and verbs behind the semicolon, subject and verb after the semicolon. So that means you can separate two complete sentences with a period, which is a complete stoplight, or a yellow light, the semicolon. You know that, then you're going to go a long way in boosting your score. Now, the fanboys. Now, notice the fanboys. I'm going to underline the sentence here. I have skills, and then I have comma, I pay the bills. This cannot happen. It is a bad, bad, bad situation. It's known as a comma splice. There's no way you can separate two complete sentences with only a comma. However, I could fix that by putting a red light in the middle. Yeah, put a period. Or how else can I fix that? By putting a semicolon to separate two complete sentences, and I'm good to go. Now, if I want to separate the two complete sentences by keeping the comma, there's no way I can keep the comma all by itself. I'm going to have to include a fanboy. Notice each of the fanboys has a comma that comes before it. Then I could put my fanboy. I have skills for I pay the bills. I have skills and I pay the bills. I have skills nor I pay the bills. It makes no darn sense. But if you notice you have a complete sentence before and a complete sentence after, even though it doesn't make sense to you with the word nor, but it has a comma before it, then it works as a fanboy rule in the SATs. Why do I mention this? Because sometimes they're going to give you sentences that sound weird to you. But if you know your rules with commas, especially with separation to complete sentences, they can't trick you. All right, the next item, unnecessary information. Now, for the unnecessary information, let's start off with the basic sentence. I ate fries. I ate, subject and verb, I and ate, and then fries, direct object. Now, I want to point something out to you, and that is the preposition. Prepositions are words that usually tell you like a roundabout where, situation. Like, for example, below, around, between, above, in. Another one is with and for. Those are prepositions. Now, prepositions, they do not require commas or any punctuation before or after the preposition. And then you have the prepositional phrase, in my car. All that information is unnecessary because it kicks off with the preposition, but it's a prepositional phrase. What would happen if I got rid of the prepositional phrase? Then I just have, I ate fries, which is a complete sentence. But if I want to tell you where, I ate fries around the corner, in my car, underneath the parking garage, you can include all that stuff with no commas because they're prepositional phrases. Another thing that I want to touch base on is the word that. Whenever you see the word that, there's never a comma before the word that. Whenever you see the word which, there is always a comma before the word which. So get familiar with those two little rules, and it's going to go a long way. An example, I ate fries in my car, and then you see comma, which is green. Yeah, what's green? The car. What comes after the comma? Which. And what comes immediately before the comma? Car. If I want to separate this sentence into two sentences, it's I ate fries in my car, period. The car is green, period. But rather than having two separate sentences, you can combine them by using the word which to take the place of the word car. So which is a pronoun. So that's an example of unnecessary information at the end of a sentence. Now, unnecessary information in the middle of a sentence. Let's take a look at that. For unnecessary information in the middle of a sentence, it basically means you're going to have two commas. Here's a comma here. I ate fries, comma, which were bought yesterday. Remember, the word which always has a comma before it. I ate fries, which were bought yesterday, comma, in my car. So all that information, comma to comma, you don't need it. It's unnecessary. What would happen if I got rid of comma to comma all the way straight through? What do I have left? I ate fries in my car. You get how that works? All right. Next, if I didn't want to use comma to comma, because let's say I've been using it a lot, I could use hyphen to hyphen or dash to dash. So if you open with a dash in the middle of a sentence, you should close with a dash. If you open with a parenthesis in the middle of a sentence, you should close with a parenthesis. So comma to comma, dash to dash, parenthesis to parenthesis, they are interchangeable. They're setting off unnecessary information. And that is your big snapshot of comma rules. Now, I got another video on comma rules. It's a bit longer and it breaks things down a bit more, but I think this is good enough for you guys to know. For lists and introductory clauses, you guys already know that. If you do have a list of items and it's more than one, two items, there is always a comma before the last item using and. So I like hip hop, classical, and country music. She has a wild, comma, funky skateboard. Now we know what kind of skateboard it is. It's a funky skateboard, but it's also a wild skateboard. But I can't describe funky as being wild. It's not like she has a wild funky because it's not wild funky. It's a wild skateboard and a funky skateboard. So this comma is kind of being used like the word and. She has a wild and funky skateboard. So whenever you see a comma separating two adjectives, you could test it with the word and see if it works, and you get to keep it. Now, the SATs, very seldom will they test that. All right, right after the grammar. Oh, shoot, that's right. I put this here to give you an example. Check this out. This group D sentence, this is the mashup of all the comma rules put together. Reaching a diverse audience, that is your introductory clause. The next part after that comma is going to be Medea, comma, right? A character known mainly in the US, comma. That blue comma to comma is unnecessary information in the middle of the sentence. Well, where's my sentence? Well, it begins with Medea. Medea is best known for being tough. Uh-oh, commas, comma, and then another comma is being known as what? Tough, protective, and no nonsense. So that's your comma rules for lists. Now, the next comma, the last comma, I'll commify it. Is that a word? Commify? Comma and but. That's a fanboy. So I should be expecting another complete sentence. Let's see if I got another complete sentence right after that but. She is also comedic. Yes, that is a complete sentence. So that's a fanboy rule for your comma rules. And the last one, you see this comma here? Comma, using physical humor. That is for a comma rule for unnecessary information at the end of the sentence. You get this, you understand a big part of the picture on how to kill answer choices that do not match the best answer that's being asked of you in the grammar section of the exam. All right, the next area after grammar that you guys are going to be dealing with are bullet questions. That's when they give you bullet points of information that they want you to read, and then they give you a question with tricky answers. Well, let's take a look at what the bullets look like. This is what they actually look like right here. This is what would pop up in your screen, but I'm going to tell you right now, you're probably not going to like this because some of you guys are very studious and very, dedicated to doing things the right way. But during the test, whenever I deal with bullet points, I ignore the bullets. I'm not even going to read that business. Forget it. Why? Because I don't need that information. They want you to read all of that information, then go to the question. You're going to get thoroughly confused. Rather, what you should do is go straight to the recipe of the question. Which choice most effectively uses the information from the given sentences to do what? What is my recipe? To emphasize the relative sizes, relative relatable sizes of the two capitals' populations. After you do that, you attack your answers from the bottom up. Is D strictly answering the recipe of the question? Comparing Vietnam to Mongolia. 7 million 700,000 is 8.1% of Vietnam's population, and 907,000 is 31.98% of Mongolia's. Now, I do notice when I'm checking out the answer, I do have Vietnam and Mongolia, right? Could I keep that answer? Are they emphasizing the relative sizes of the two capitals' populations? Maybe we'll keep it. Now we take a look at answer choice C. We're going to compare C and D. Even though Hanoi is, wait a minute, I thought we were dealing with Vietnam, Mongolia. Oh, all right. Even though Hanoi, population 7,700,000, is larger than Ulaanbaatar, which was not mentioned before, population 907, that's the same as Mongolia's. Ulaanbaatar accounts for more of his country's population. Now, it is doing a better job of comparing the relative sizes of the populations, but I got a problem. I got Hanoi and Ulaanbaatar, and I got Vietnam, Mongolia. Which ones happen to be the capitals? Now, I like answer choice C better because it's showing an emphasis of the relative sizes. But which one has the capitals? Because they did say capitals. If we go back in here, we see Ulaanbaatar is the capital of Mongolia, and we see that Hanoi is the capital of Vietnam. So therefore, C is the better answer between C and D. Let's compare it to B. The populations and capitals of Mongolia and Vietnam are 907 and 7 million. Is that a better answer? No, because they're naming the countries, not the capitals. What about A? Mongolia's capital is Ulaanbaatar, which has 907, and Vietnam's capital is Hanoi, which has 7 million. We need to strictly stick to the names of the capitals. C is the best answer. A is not better than C. C is 10 times better than A. And that's it. That's your business for bullets. Ignore the bullets and go straight to the recipe of the question. All right. After you complete bullet questions, the next part of the test is going to come out. We're going to go back to reading comprehension. Remember, the reading comprehension comes immediately after sentence completions, but we will have skipped all those reading comp questions to get to the grammar, then bullets. Then we go back to the reading comp to work on those particular questions because they will take up to 2 minutes of time per reading passage question. How much time do we spend on the sentence completions, grammar, and bullets? 20 to 30 seconds per question. They're really that quick to work on. The reading comp, when we go back to these questions, we'll have about 1.5 to 2 minutes left per question, which is terrific. Rather than you be like the average student doing sentence completions, then doing reading comprehension questions and blowing your time, we're going to manipulate the order of the test and change it to our favor. Now, you're only being tested on 0 reading comprehension because it's not really reading comprehension. You got to read and understand what's going on, follow the flow of the story. I hate the word reading comprehension because it makes it seem as if you have to really, really think deeply about what you're reading. No, you got to be loose when you deal with the reading comp, which all of you guys can be capable of being loose during the reading comprehension section. You deal with tricky questions and tricky answers. Now, there are going to be certain types of questions that you like more than other types. Now, these are the types of reading comp questions that they like to ask. Main purpose, main idea, best overall structure, hypothesis, best completes the sentence, best function of the sentence, best matching the text. There's always they're going to show you questions that involves claim, but best finding support that goes with the claim, or best finding what do you call it? Best finding an item or a statement that undermines the claim. Those are tricky questions. Next one, you're dealing with claim again. Which quote best illustrates the claim? Those would be easier than the undermining. Undermining questions, they kind of burn students, but once they understand how they're being burnt, they know how to turn the test around on it. Then there are the dual text passages, which I don't like because they do steal time. And then you have the remaining types of passages: conclusion, idea, assertions, and explanations. Those are 11 different types of just straight up reading comprehension passages. What do those look like? The first 11 that I gave you? Here, I'll give you a sample right here. This is the best main idea question. It's all text. Oh, did we see charts and graphs? Yes. Now, there are going to be charts and graph questions also given to you during the exam. Here's one type of charts and graph. C and G is charts and graph. Best data to complete a sentence, in which you have to analyze the chart or graph to complete a sentence. Best data to complete a statement. Best data to complete example. Claims. Again, here we go with claims. Best data to illustrate the claim given to us, but using a chart and graph. Best describes data to support. Best data support. Best describes data to support. What are they for? Conclusions. And then we have hypothesis questions. Best describes data to support the hypothesis. Sometimes undermine. Whenever you deal with support questions, sometimes they give you the opposite, undermining the hypothesis. And then we have the last one, suggestion. Best describes data support to suggestion. So if you're going to focus on the reading section of or reading comprehension section of the exam, then we need a little more time to get better with these. But if you only have 48 hours or a few days to get ready for the next test, you're going to deal with a sampling of these, which I'm going to provide for you so that you can at least practice once or twice before taking the actual test on a Saturday morning. All right, next page. This is what a chart or graph question could look like. Now, what would be my steps with a chart or graph? Well, let's talk about procedure though. I'd rather not do 14. If I saw question 14, I would skip it and then go to question number 12 instead. I want to work on the passages that are short and sweet. Anything that's long and complex or a style of question that I don't like, I'll leave it for later. There's no order of difficulty with the reading comprehension section of the exam. You do have easy, medium, hard questions in that order given to you in sentence completions, easy, medium, hard given to you in grammar questions, easy, medium, hard given to you in bullet questions. But when it comes to reading comp, the easy, medium, hard questions are scrambled. They don't start off with an easy passage and then continue until they get to the last one, should be most difficult. No, they're scrambled. So the more you practice on the different types of reading passages, the better that you'll be identifying which ones you want to work on first. All right, the last component is going to be the math section of the exam. Well, what makes up the math section of the exam? This is what they tell us that makes up the math section. It's broken up into two parts. You have 70 minutes total, two 35-minute sections, a total of 44 questions, of which 4 are fake. Again, they're trying out new questions on us when we take the exam. We don't know which ones are going to be fake in the reading. We don't know which ones will be fake in the math. We have to treat all of the questions as if they're live and they're going to be scored. Now, the topics that are being given to us, science, social science, real world topics, charts and graphs, for sure, we're definitely going to see charts and graph passages. Now, the big math parts, it's algebra, advanced math, data analysis, and geometry. The heaviest part of the test is going to be algebra and advanced math. There are more questions given to us for algebra and advanced math. Now, algebra, it's all about slope, intercept formulas. The advanced math, the majority of the questions you're dealing with are going to be parabolas, parabolas. Ah, now data analysis is strictly just analyzing information, ratios, proportions, scatter plots, probability. This is from the website for College Board Studies and weak claim. Oh, that word, weak claims, that's mine. I came up with that because their claim questions are weak. And then geometry and trigonometry. The hardest you're going to find is really trigonometry, is SOHCAHTOA, and maybe a law of science question. But the fewest questions given in the test are going to be these two. You got 11, 16%, 11, 16%, which is 5 to 7 questions in the entire exam. This is going to be the layout for your test. Now, how do you practice for the math section leading up to the test? Well, I think you need to focus more on the algebra and advanced math. Remember, you're going to set your expectations. The math is easy, but there's a lot of pieces to the math. With about 5 to 8 weeks, you can do an incredible job improving your test score. But with a couple of days before the test, I think it'll just be best to focus on your algebra and your advanced math since they make up most of the math. Now, between now and the test, with the modules that you'll see, maybe you'll be able to go over some of the geometry and some of the data analysis, but I really believe that you should focus your energy and attention to algebra and advanced math before an actual exam. But what's being tested besides the list that they gave us is really just algebra 1 and geometry 1. If you got at least a C minus in both of those classes in school, then you're good to go to beat down the SAT math section or ACT math section. They're testing a bubble of information that's not really hard. All right, quick math review. This formula guide, they'll give you at the beginning of both math sections of the SAT, but in the ACT, you will not have this formula guide. So if you're going to take the ACT anytime soon, get very familiar with the formulas for geometry because they like to test more geometry in ACT than they do in the SAT. All right, These are the types of math questions that you might see. Let's see if you're familiar with these. Here's question number 14, lengths of fish. How do you feel about these? Notice your answer choices deal with mean, median, range, and sometimes they'll deal with mode and standard deviation. The other types, we might be dealing with percentages. And let's see for algebra. Oh, that's data analysis. Well, let me show you algebra and some of the types of questions. Here we go. Solving equations, system of equations, dealing with these guys. There are going to be some key words that you need to be familiar with within the question so that you can own these type of questions. Sometimes it just give you wordy questions. And it's involving what? Since it is algebra, more than likely slope-intercept formula. Take a look at question number 6. Now they give you two straight lines. And what are they dealing with? With lines. It's algebra, slope-intercept formula. A good number of the questions will be dealing with slope-intercept formula. The other type is going to be advanced math. Now, the advanced math, typically they deal with parabolas or equations involving exponential equations. Now, we take a look at this guy. We have an exponent involved. And what's being involved in this one and this one? Did you see what I just did? I'm taking a look at the answer choices to cheat, just like I did in the reading section of the exam. Are they going to be testing me on exponential formulas or linear formulas? Just to try this question out, it's supposed to be one of the hardest questions. The world's population has grown at an average rate. Once I see those words, let me change it to blue. Average rate, that means you're dealing with an exponential formula. So as soon as you see average rate and they said of 1.9%, you can kill C and you can kill D. It's got to be between A and B. Now, the best answer, because you're telling us it's growing at 1.9%, that means we're going to have to include last year's 100% number plus the 1.9% number. If I added those two numbers up, that'd be 101.9%. If I change it to decimal, what must I do? Get rid of the percent and move the decimal over 2 times. So that'll be 1.019. So the best answer is A as an apple. Not hard at all, but if you first looked at the question, did it give you trouble? Question 30 gives students a lot of fits also. Now, the geometry that's being tested, sometimes they'll include imaginary numbers, but mostly it'll be geometry. So these are samples of questions that you might encounter. Now, if you froze the screen, if you paused the screen at any time to take a look at these questions and they gave you trouble, then yes, you certainly do need help before you take the next exam the next time. But if you're taking this at the last minute, dude, sweat, no sweat at all. Just relax. You're going to do as well as you can following a strategy, a technique when we go through the math module. Now, the math to own. Students have asked me, what do I really need to know in algebra? So I broke down the algebra section of all the exams that have been given, and you have these guys. You got 11 days worth or 11 different topics of algebra that'll be tested. You have also a good number. What are these? Like 10 different areas of advanced math. Those are the two heavily tested areas of the exam. Now, the least tested is going to be data analysis and what's being tested. Here they are, all broken down. So if you feel like you have a weakness in any of these particular areas, then we need to buckle down and start owning these guys. Geometry. What they love testing in geometry is very simply, it's going to be lines, quads, four-sided images, triangles, and lastly, circle questions. Though that's it, boiled down. That's really what you deal with in geometry. Trying to think if there's anything else. Well, all right. You guys will have a cheat sheet to use during the exam. There's going to be a cheat sheet for the reading section. And if you want a copy of this, I'll send it out to you. No problem. But this cheat sheet will tell you what steps you need to take to attack sentence completions. I already talked about it in this video, but you have to sit down and actually do it. Step 2, remember, we're not doing reading comprehension right after sentence completions. Rather, we're going to do the grammar questions. You have stuff to execute within the first minute when you get into grammar. Step 3, after you finish your grammar questions, you're going to go straight to the bullets question and crush those questions as well. The last step of your reading is going back and attacking your personal order difficulty for the reading comprehension. You'll have up to 2 minutes per question because of the previous questions, these guys, sentence completions, grammar, and bullets, you'd be taking 20 to 30 seconds per question so that you can wind up with up to 2 minutes per question with the reading comprehension, which is designed to slow you down. Oh, we cannot forget the math section. The math section, All you need to do is really practice. All the information that you do find in the math section, you guys really already know it. But your business is to spend 20 to 30 seconds per question for the easy and medium level questions of the exam in math. Once you get to the hard questions, then you can slow down. You'll have extra time to use. You better know how to use your calculator. Now, know when to use and when not to use Desmos. Now, you can bring up to 2 calculators to the exam, but you can only use one of those calculators during the math section of the exam, including using Desmos. You can use Desmos and your calculator. For all of the test question types, never ever hug a question. As soon as you get stuck on a question, you guess on an answer and move on to the next question. You can always flag the question for future review, so you can always go back to it. The hard work is always going to be practicing, doing your homework, getting it done. The easy work will be at the exam. But since you're taking a test at the last minute with a couple of days left of the exam, don't go crazy. Set your expectations. What's your expectation? Oh, you know what? I'm going to take that test. I know I'm not going to do well, but I'm going to employ the strategies that I'll learn in the next few modules before I take that stupid test. All right. Lastly, if you have any questions or if you want copies of the documents that I posted on here, just text me at 786-877-7231 and text me the words last minute. I'll make sure you get that information. Now, don't be afraid. All right. We know it's all about the dollars. That's what it's all about. The dollars. I've been doing this 25 years and I got students get a lot of dollars to pay for the college tuition, money that they don't have to pay back. Lastly, again, remember, if you need the documents that I posted on here, text me the word last minute to 786-877-7231. All right, that's it. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out. Again, my name is Mr. Alberto of OwnTheSAT.com. Take care.